Let's talk about Thomas Hobbes, a guy whose life was shaped by some pretty crazy times. He was born in England in 1588. Imagine the Spanish Armada was trying to invade. It was a scary time. And even Hobbes's birth was dramatic. The story goes that his mum went into labor early because she was so scared of the Armada. It seems like fear was a big part of his life, even from the beginning. Hobbes was a really smart kid. He went to Oxford University and learned all about the classic writers from ancient Greece and Rome. Those old stories about wars and power really stuck with him. After he finished school, he traveled and met some super famous people like Galileo, the astronomer, and Descartes, the philosopher. Talking to these guys made Hobbes want to understand the world in a scientific way. So England fell into a terrible civil war in 1642. It was a bloody mess, with the king and parliament fighting for control. Hobbes was on the king's side and was horrified by all the fighting. The war really messed with his head, and he started to think that people are naturally selfish and violent if left alone. This idea became super important in his most famous book, Leviathan. Hobbes ran away to France to be safe and started writing his big book. He said that without a strong leader, everything would fall apart and become a free-for-all. In 1651, he published Leviathan, and it was a real shocker. It said that the best government was one with a super-powerful ruler who could make everyone follow the rules. Leviathan is a pretty complicated book, but the main idea is the social contract. Hobbes said that to avoid a world where everyone is fighting, people need to give up some of their freedom to a ruler. This ruler, the Leviathan, would keep things peaceful and punish bad guys. Hobbes thought this social contract was a necessary evil, like a price you pay for safety. Gap 2S. This idea was a game changer. It said that kings weren't chosen by God, but by the people. Some people loved Hobbes's ideas, and some hated them, calling him a supporter of tyrants. Thomas Hobbes lived a long life and died in 1679 at 91. People still argue about his ideas today. His thoughts on human nature, the social contract, and government are just as important now as they were back then. Philosophers and political scientists still study his work, and he influenced tons of other important thinkers. Leviathan is still one of the most important books about political philosophy ever written. Hobbes's legacy is complicated. He lived through some tough times, but his ideas are still relevant today. They make us think about power, order, and what it means to be human. In a world where these things are still important, Hobbes's ideas still make us think hard about the difficult choices we have to make for a safe and fair society.